welcome to Flx Matters. This interview this morning is with Charlie Dammonsing from CL Associates. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, Sue.
Now, we're also combining this interview because you're also a Suffolk woman-owned business, so I'll be saying good morning again and welcome to the Swap channel, because people will be able to see this afterwards. But CL Associates, tell us what your specialty area is.
We deal with stress management mainly in the workplace, but stress in general, yeah.
Okay, that's a huge area, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So, what kind of organisations are you working alongside?
For the workplace stuff, we've done over the last year a lot in the public sector, a lot in the private sector, and actually some in the third sector as well. But it's about doing training, going in and increasing awareness in workplaces about stress, getting people talking about it a bit more, and also managers and senior managers do actually have legal obligations around stress, so it's making sure they know exactly what they need to be doing and making sure they don't fall foul of the law and end up in employment tribunals and things.
Well, that's right, isn't it? Because it comes under health and safety, doesn't it?
It does. So that there are some rules from the health and safety legislation, but also quite a lot of case law now. And every now and again, there's quite a frightening settlement. Earlier this year, a company had to pay £400,000 in damages because they just got it a bit wrong on stress. So it's important, and I don't want to frighten people into it, but it is important. They just need to be doing things.
Well, I know when we were talking earlier, we talked about your journey and how you got to this stage of actually starting your own company, specialising in that area. But you're also a trained accountant, aren't you?
Yes.
And having worked for one of the big players, Ernst & Young, you would have had like first-hand knowledge of pressurised environments and targets, etc.
Absolutely. And you know, from day one, particularly in London, although not exclusively, it's a very, very competitive environment. And you know, from day one, you're doing your work, but you've also got to pass all your exams and things, and then you're qualified, and it's getting up on the next rung, and it is very competitive. And I'll stick my hand up and say I struggled. I actually didn't go down the sort of formal route. I came in sort of from the side. I won't explain, but I never quite fit in. I never quite knew what I was doing, which is awful. I did in the
more of us should be honest enough to admit that.
I knew about the accounting bit, and that was actually in tax, which I confessed earlier as well. I knew the technical bit of my job, but just how I'm not very good at politics, and I didn't understand how it worked, and it really wasn't me, to be honest. And as I did also confess to you earlier, it all came to a bit of a head when I burst into tears in the middle of an appraisal. I just said, I don't know what I'm doing, and I picked the right person because actually she did help me. But I wish I'd been able to speak up before I got to that point. So what I try and do is really push to companies that they need to have support available for people, so that if they do feel under pressure, overwhelmed, stressed, whatever it is they say, then there are places to go before they get to the point of bursting into tears at work, which is not nice.
Because it's also true to say, isn't it, in this current economic climate, the people who are lucky enough to be able to have jobs are not always entirely happy in them. They're there for the wrong reasons.
Definitely, and I feel very strongly at the moment there must be, and I know there are, a lot of people who are in jobs that if the economy was any more fluid, they would leave. But they've sort of weighed it up and thought, well, I've got a mortgage, I've got a family, and I've got financial commitments, so I can't leave because I might not get another job, or I might have to take a pay cut. And so they're stuck in a job, and they're feeling stuck, they're feeling powerless, which is very stressful. So they're stuck in this job and don't know what to do, and I do work with people like that, and get them to think, right, I've made a decision, I'm going to be here for 2 years, how can I make the best of it? No, I think you're right, I think there are a lot of people who are in the wrong job at the moment.
Yeah, because they are there for the wrong reasons. There can be nothing worse, really, than being forced to get up every morning and say, I have to go to work because I've got to pay the bills.
Absolutely.
I really don't want to be here.
That's right, and being told, I think, you're lucky to have a job, because actually that's, absolutely true, but not entirely helpful. And as we all know, we're all being asked to do more with less. To be fair, in the public and private sector, jobs are being cut, but the team still has to produce the same results. And managers are having to work harder and harder to do that. So when you're up against it and you don't even want to be there, and you're being told, well, you're lucky to have a job, it's not great.
And I think if you spoke to anyone, they'll all have found themselves in that situation in one job or another. And they're like, I personally was. I had a team of 4 people at one point, and gradually, as each one left, they weren't replaced, but the same work was still expected to be done.
Exactly.
And suddenly you find yourself doing the work of 4 or 5 people, and there's only a certain amount of hours in the day.
There is.
So it does have an effect. Do you find there's a big difference between men and women in how stress is managed?
I do, and as much as I don't like stereotypes of any sort, but yes, there is definitely, in my opinion, men are much more reluctant, unwilling, unable, I don't know what it is, to seek help and to stick their hands up, and particularly say, they're stressed, because it is a taboo, it's seen as a sign of weakness, they're meant to be the ones that can cope, and so they are much less forthcoming in saying, I could really do with just having a chat and seeing what's going on and how I can sort it out.
So would you encourage the managers to be trained first then in any organisation?
Definitely, yes. I go in, I do all sorts of training, and it depends on what the company wants, but my ideal is to have half a day with managers, and just to get them to understand the importance of stress, just to get them talking about it and get over the S word, and get them more familiar with it, and to understand they don't have to do anything majorly different. They just have to be aware of their staff a bit more, because when we are stressed, we're all different. So for somebody, they're going to get headaches, somebody else is going to start drinking a bit more, somebody's going to be really snappy. People are going to change, and it's all about being aware of your team and just noticing changes. And then starting a conversation, how's it going? We've been really busy the last 2 months, how are you finding it? And just being there to offer help. And you need to be prepared for people to say, no, I'm fine, because they do. But nevertheless, you're just gently sort of being there and ready to talk to them when they feel like that they can talk about it. Yeah.
I know we're focusing a lot here on a conversation regarding work-related stress, but there are also other areas of stress in people's lives as well, aren't there?
Definitely. And I have to say, the more I work in it, the more it becomes clear that you can't just separate it out neatly. Well, it's all workplace stress, so if we deal with that, we'll be fine. It's usually a combination of 2 or 3 factors, because if you're working longer hours at work, for example, it's putting strain on your family life. Or if your finances are under strain, so you're working as hard as you can, but you're still finding it difficult to make ends meet. So yes, all sorts of things. And let's face it, moving house is stressful. Christmas is stressful. Christmas is very stressful. I went to a garden centre the other day with my 3-year-old niece, and she said it's going to be the best Christmas ever. And my sister's thinking, I've got 2 months to go before next Christmas. So absolutely, Christmas is stressful. Children are stressful, little ones, medium-sized ones, older ones who won't leave home or do leave home. Of course it is. There's lots of stuff going on, and it all comes at us. And every now and again, people just get to tipping point, and they suddenly think, actually, I can't do this.
I think one of the other things I've noticed as well with regard to stress, for some reason, there seems to be a lot of people where sickness and ill health is a big part of stress, because they try to protect members of their family from it as well. I see it a lot in my industry as well. They don't want people to know quite how bad they are, so they internalise it as well.
Yes.
Because they think they're protecting the family, but actually they're not, are they?
That's right. So protecting the family from knowing they're stressed, you mean?
Yes.
Absolutely, so pretending everything's fine.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely, and no, very much so. And so, when I'm talking to people, it's all about understanding exactly what's going on for them. I'll come back to that, because the thing is with stress, when you do get a certain way down the line, it can be so overwhelming that you just can't see the wood for the trees. But when you do sit down and have a chat with somebody like me or whoever, and you look at it, there's probably only 2 or 3 things, but they've become so big that now everything's wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in the workplace, just as an example, I would sit down with somebody, and I've got a sort of a formula, and we'd go through it, and we'd come up with, well, actually, there are only 2 things that are causing you stress, so if we sort those out, we're okay. And same at home, you're suddenly overwhelmed by the whole weight of the responsibilities, but actually when you break it down, there's probably only 2 or 3 things that are causing the problems, and if you can start to sort those out, then it all becomes a bit clearer.
Are you a big believer in pets being a good antidote to stress?
Very much so. Very much so. Yes, definitely. All pets, just because of companionship and communication, and I think there's something you get a real connection with pets. Dogs, because they get you out and going walking, which is another great antidote for it. And can I just tell you that last night we've secured a rescue dog. We lost our dog in the summer, and it's taken me a long time to get over it. But anyway, last night we went and we've got a rescue dog, and I can't wait for her to come home. So yeah.
What have you got? What breed?
She is going to be she's a Labradoodle.
Okay.
Whatever, and she's lovely, and she just looks like a golden Labrador with a curly back. And she's very
well, regular viewers of Felix Stowe TV will know that I usually have my dog with me.
Do you?
Yes,
right.
But because I've got a couple of other appointments today, I couldn't really sort of bring him to those appointments, so which is unfortunate. But normally he's wandering around the studio here, and I find him a real good stress buster.
Definitely.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And other people seem to react to them as well, don't they? And it's whatever they were doing, they bend down, they stroke them, they play with them, most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that they are a very positive influence as well. What other kinds of things would you say people could do to help themselves?
Well, this is what I spend a lot of time talking about, and one point I will make, I just mentioned exercise, and I remember being told this when I was really stressed out at work, and somebody saying, well, you need to do more exercise and eat healthily and drink more. I was thinking, how is that going to help with the fact that I've got too much to do and I don't know what I'm doing? And the answer is it isn't going to help with that. But the fitter you are, and the more makes you more able to deal with whatever's coming at you. And so getting outside, I'm a great one for even a walk, and particularly fresh air. I'm a fresh air fan, sunlight if it's there. Getting out is a good thing. But any exercise will do, anything you enjoy doing. Eating healthily, making sure that you're drinking enough water and things just means you're able to deal with what's coming at you. Because if you're already physically struggling, then when something stressful happens, you're less able to deal with it.
Because when we mentioned before, people react in different ways to stress, and one of the things that people can do is like open the fridge and just eat whatever's in there.
Absolutely, yep.
Absolutely. And it's always the things that are not good for us that we go for. We never say, I must have a lettuce leaf,
Sadly,
it's always the refined and the processed and the sweet things that we go for, which of course are really bad for us because it's just a temporary high, isn't it?
It is. I mean, when I do these little talks, I'm always saying, and don't drink too much. And I'm certainly not against alcohol. I'm not against chocolate. I'm not against any of it. But it's all about that awful word, but moderation. I'm not being a moderate person. That's quite tough. But yes, it is. And interestingly, drinking. Again, getting back to people realising their stress is when you suddenly realise that you've actually polished off a bottle of wine most nights this week, when really that's a bit more than you would normally have, so that's an indicator that things are always...
I can remember many years ago when I gave up smoking, one of the comments that was made at the time that really stuck in my mind was people say they smoke because it helps their stress levels, but actually it's the act of a deep breath.
Absolutely
that is it. Regardless of whether it's a cigarette that you're inhaling from, if you were to just breathe properly, it would have exactly the same effect and not be doing any harm.
Absolutely. And also, I tell you, it's about taking a break.
Yeah.
Another thing I bang on about in my sort of workplace sessions is taking a break. Now, especially nowadays, not only have you got to leave the building, but you've probably got to walk 100 yards up the road as well. But that's all good stuff. So you're getting away from your desk, you're getting away from the stressful situations. I wouldn't say that totally counts as exercise, but nevertheless you're getting out in the fresh air, albeit to have a cigarette, but all those things, as you say, are good apart from the cigarette at the end. But I'm always talking about people taking their lunch breaks, and there's lots of research saying that if you do take a proper lunch break, even only half an hour, you're much more productive in the afternoon. So people think, I've got too much to do, I can't leave my desk, but actually you should, because you'll be better in the afternoon. Taking your annual leave, if you do, make sure you do take all your holiday. One piece of advice I was given right at the beginning of my career at Ernst & Young was taking 2 weeks at once. Rather than sort of taking 4 separate weeks, make sure you take 2 weeks at once, because it does take that long to really, really wind down and chill out before you have to sort of gear up for coming home. So.
But again, I think it's this culture that we're currently in with the economy that is saying, so much happens in a week. I can't possibly be away for my week because all sorts of things. My job might not be here when I get back, which brings its own stress and tension as well.
And actually, self-employed are particularly bad at this. And I don't know about you. When you take your BlackBerry and stuff on holiday, I have this fight with self-employed people a lot as well.
But I think when it's your own business, you obviously, it's a different kind of stress, isn't it? It's sort of, okay, I want to do this, rather than feeling that you have to do it.
Sure.
But talking about jobs and work-related stress brings us nicely on to what you're going to be masterminding tomorrow in Felixstowe for us. The Felixstowe Jobs Fair?
That's right. Yep.
Would you like to tell us a little bit more about what that involves?
Would love to. It's tomorrow at the Felixstowe Library between 10:30 and 3, and it's Felixstowe-based stuff. So we have got employers, and including people like yourself coming along, people who've got job opportunities out there. I know yours is self-employed, but nevertheless, opportunities for work out there. So we've got lots of local employers. We've got some people who've got volunteering opportunities, because for some people who've been out of work for a while, that's a very good way of getting back into the workplace. And then we've got some local training providers, and it's all very Felixstowe focused. And what I've done is separated out into 3 separate times. So there's 1.5 hour sessions. The first one is general opportunities and self-employment. The second one is all about the care and retail industries, and they are recruiting at the moment, so I wanted to get them along. And then finally I've got a session on the port, because obviously Felixstowe is very dominated by the port in terms of employment, and so I've got some people coming along from the port, actually to tell people how it is, exactly what sort of vacancies there are at the moment and what sort of training and experience they might need to get them.
That's great. And how else have you promoted this? I mean, how are you getting people along to it?
I have been talking to, well, the Job Centre have been fantastic, and I know that they've been telling most people coming in over the last 2 or 3 weeks they should come along. I've been on Felixstowe Radio. I was saying to Bonnie, I'm hoping to get a call from Radio Suffolk today. Felixstowe Star have done a great piece on it today. I haven't seen it yet, but they've gone for it, and there'll be a small piece in the East Anglian as well, because today's Jobs Day, and in those papers, and so I know most people who are looking for work around here, that's one of the very sort of staple ways they get of finding information. So hopefully, I mean, if we got 50 people through the door, that'd be great. If we got 100, I'd be absolutely ecstatic. And if people could go away with information about vacancies, if they would have spoken to you and you'd have had a few sign-ups, the care companies, I know that they are recruiting. There's some retail outlets who are looking for people, so you know, if everyone goes away with some information, knows a little bit more about what's happening in Felixstowe, I'll be delighted.
It sounds like a great formula, actually, to be just focusing on one particular geographic area and saying, this is actually what's out there for you, because I think conversations I've had with some people who say they've been looking for ages, they just get really dejected because nobody acknowledges their applications, and so actually there comes a point they stop looking, you know, and they become a little bit kind of jaded, and so it's good to kind of refresh them and say, you know, actually, although there wasn't anything in that sector, look at all these other opportunities that are out there.
That's interesting what you say, because I think people have to be quite flexible now, and interesting, there's a big section of people I've been working with over the last few months, of people, 40, 50-year-olds, who've never been unemployed in their lives because they've always had work, and now suddenly they're out of work. And they have skills and things that actually don't exist anymore. Perfect example was a chap who's a printer yesterday. Worked in printing his whole life, but of course printing, as he knows, it doesn't exist. Bless him, so he's incredibly talented, experienced and skilled man, but with skills that aren't immediately fitting into printing. So yesterday we had a long conversation about what other things he could do, and he started saying, nothing, I'm a printer, but by the end of it he realised that actually some of his skills could be useful elsewhere. So I think you're right, people, when they come out of a job, they very naturally want to go straight back into something similar, but that actually isn't always possible.
It's a comfort zone thing, isn't it? You want to go back to what you know best and what you feel you can do well.
Exactly.
But actually it's also an opportunity to explore other things that you might not have tried, and if you're open to trying those things, all sorts of opportunities and doors can open.
Absolutely. And you're right, the mindset is absolutely key. And I know when you have just lost your job, there's often there's quite a lot of anger and bitterness and woe is me, which is totally understandable. But you're right, a few months down the line, people can begin to think, do you know what, this is a really good opportunity for me. Let's see what I can make of it. And it depends how long it takes. You know, different people take a different amount of time to get there. But
it's interesting, isn't it? Because as you know, I've now got my 5th cleaner off of Job Seekers, which I'm extraordinarily proud about. But I've also got a few cleaners on my books who came to me from the sort of very non-typical routes. One of them had been working in one of the big banks. I won't say which one, obviously. But she had no control there. She was always dancing to someone else's tune, and so her stress levels were getting higher and higher, and she actually felt bullied as well. So she just knew she needed some control back in her life, and she came to me from the bank job. So this is a very qualified person, you know, who said, I just want to do something I can control. So, you know, having her own clients and going to clean their houses gave her a way to work through that. And she's extremely happy now because she has got that control back in her life. So I think empowering people like that is very important, isn't it? Once they make that decision to say, look, I want to stay in control. I don't want to dance to somebody else's tune.
No, absolutely. I agree. And I hope that tomorrow you'll be able to have that conversation with a few people who never really thought about being self-employed. But once you explain how it's set up
and how easy
they do have control,
yeah.
exactly, that could open their eyes. And that's what I'd like from tomorrow, is people just to have different views on things. Yeah.
So you can work with groups and also individuals on a one-to-one basis.
Yes.
So if somebody wanted some help managing this, if they came to you, I mean, what would you be able to offer them? A series of one-to-ones or workshops? I mean, how does it work?
On a one-to-one basis, I could offer them one-to-one coaching is what I'm actually qualified in, so that's kind of my approach. Either face-to-face or on the phone. I actually have a lot of clients who I've never even met, and we talk on the phone, and that's quite effective. It stops messing around on travelling as well, so it's actually quite a good cost-effective way of doing it. I've also got sort of e-programs and things like that, so people can do sort of homework between calls, because then that means when we do speak, they've already started thinking about things, and so they're further down the line before we talk. So yeah. All sorts of different things.
I know from talking to other coaches that actually they're almost a victim of their own success sometimes, aren't they? Because once you get somebody on the right track, they're no longer a client for you.
That's the best bit. I know. I had one a couple of weeks ago, and I said to her, "Are we done?" And she said, "I think we are," and that was great. Hallelujah!
Yes.
I've done my bit. She's certainly done hers, and off she goes.
Fantastic. Yeah. But then the word will spread about how that has helped her, and because I think as well, when friends and family see how low somebody can get with really bad stress, and then they see them again a few months later, and it's like a different person.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, your whole physiology changes, doesn't it? Your colour comes back.
Yeah. Your eyes sparkle, you walk differently.
Right.
You can tell, can't you, when somebody's got the weight of the world on their shoulders and stuff they're not talking about usually.
That's it. Yes, you can.
So, Charlie, you're on a mission. Get men talking about their stress.
I really am. And I'll tell you, I'm going on a course next month that's being delivered by a professor who's looked into, it's called Getting Men to Get Help, Helping Men to Get Help. And he's done a lot of research of why they don't. And I cannot wait to do that, because, I feel really strongly about it. I really do. And I know from the work I've done that, even a few conversations can really unstick people and off they go. It's just getting to that point that's tricky. And I think that, the one area that we haven't covered, because stress can affect anyone, is children. Yes. Yes, now there is a specialist area, and I have to say one that I don't have an awful lot of experience in, but you're right, and I think people can dismiss it, but some children have to put up some really rotten stuff. Bullying, not least of it. But families and demands and and from all sorts of types of family as well. I think sometimes that children of very wealthy parents can have enormous demands put on them. You must be achieving this, that, and the other. So it's not just the the sort of the lower income families that have problems. I think all families can do, and I think children do suffer quite a lot too.
I think as well with the, I was talking to a 16-year-old a couple of weeks ago, and just asking her how she was getting on at school and etc. And she feels under tremendous pressure to do so well in her exams, and it's almost all they're told to think about. And obviously it's because the schools want to put ticks in boxes. We got these people through exams. But actually this girl feels rushed, she feels hurried, she feels under pressure, and she is not enjoying being at school as a result, and I really felt for her, because I thought, to be under that sort of pressure at 16, you're missing out on so much,
Yes.
I think you need to get into schools as well, is what I'm saying.
I would love to, and I do again feel very strongly about exams and things, because some people fly through them and some people really struggle, and it's not because they're not intelligent and unable, they just, it doesn't do it for them. So no, I would absolutely love to, believe me. Yeah.
Well, I think we've established this morning that stress can affect anyone, but it can be managed.
Definitely.
But you've got to communicate.
You have. Yes, you have.
Talk to somebody about it.
Yes, and it doesn't matter who it is. There are lots of massage and Reiki and alternative therapists out there, and they're fantastic. So even if you go along sort of for a physical thing, maybe they're the people that you feel safe to talk to. It's all about finding somewhere you feel safe to speak about it. You're not going to get judged, and that person can perhaps help you just sort it out. Sometimes even expressing it is worth.
So just to recap, the time at the community library tomorrow is 10:30 until 3.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're watching and you're interested at all in finding out about local opportunities for training and employment, There will be representatives from a lot of different organisations there. And just point us to your website, Charlie, for your company.
Okay, so the website for the stress stuff is classociates.org.uk.
All one word?
All one word, all lowercase. And actually for the jobs fair, it's ready for work, for being the number, readyforwork.org.
Okay, all right, so 2 websites there for you to remember. And I'm just going to spring this on you, but as this is going on the Swab channel as well, the way we usually finish up the interviews on the Swab channel is to ask our guests for some little known fact about them that they might not find on a CV, something unusual that might have happened, any famous people you've encountered, any particular tidbit of information about you and your life that you'd like to share?
Famous people I've encountered. Funny enough, I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if he's famous for everyone else, but there's a cricketer called Sir Vivian Richards, who I just think is the most gorgeous person in the whole world ever. And I met him once at a golf club that I was working at, and I was so excited. I knew he was coming. I was so excited, and when I got there, I could not speak. He's an Antiguan, a big, gorgeous guy, and I was so excited. I had it all ready, and I got there. And
you just stood in front of him. Viv Richards, yes, I think I've heard of him. Yes. Oh, you just did a really good outward
He's lovely. He does a lot of commentary on. I'm a big cricket fan. I don't know if that's a little known fact too. Massive cricket fan, and him in particular. And he was coming one day, and I thought, oh, that's great. And put all my best stuff on. Went over and just couldn't say anything.
Okay, so if we didn't know before, we now know Charlie is a huge cricket fan,
absolutely.
But also is definitely the person we should point you to if you're feeling that you can't manage your own stress levels at the moment. She can help you on many levels.
Okay.
Charlie, thank you very much indeed.
Real pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.